This was a requested video from my red hair tutorial. A lot of people loved the skin, wanted to know how I did it. This is that same technique. Hey painting pals, welcome back to Mandy's Minis. Today, well, you saw the thumbnail. I am going for the most requested video that I've ever had. And we are doing the skin tone recipe that a whole bunch of you have been asking for. This one is very long. There is 7 colors involved and it is quite a process, which is why it looks so amazing. I've already got our base coated in medium rust from AK Interactive. The first step, we're going to layer up with a 50-50 mix of medium rust to pink flesh. Now the other thing that I do want to state is that this is not my recipe. I am not the person who originated it. I actually took it from someone else and just tweaked it based on the paints that I already own. That's why I show you the bottles of the paint rather than just giving you the names. The paint itself is not special. There's nothing superb about them. Depending on your climate, your painting style, you may have different results with different paints. You can switch out any of the colors for ones you already own. And you don't have to rush off to buy the ones that I own. That's actually what I've done with this recipe. It was put out on Instagram, was where I saw it, from Jose Da Vinci is his handle. And he is an amazing painter. Oh, he's so good. If you don't know who he is, you've got to check him out. But he used what was a paint called Briar Rose. But I don't own Briar Rose. That's an AK Interactive one that I don't have. So I just substituted the pink flesh from scale 75 because it's a very similar color. So that's what you want to look for when you're looking at people's recipes. You don't want to take the exact colors. I mean, you can if you have them, but the colors, the exact brand and all of that doesn't really matter. What matters most is that you take similar colors. We've got that second coat on. So this time we're going to do the pink flesh mixed 50-50 with radiant flesh, which is also an AK color. I am actually using a number 4 brush because I'm doing a bust, which is very large. So you can see I've got this really nice big brush. Now this looks like a very stark contrast. So it's going to actually cover quite poorly. So we're definitely going to have to do multiple coats of this to make sure we get it looking right, because it is such a jump. And remember, we're layering here, so we're coming on with pretty good sizing for the paint. We're not like thin or anything like that. I mean, obviously you want to thin your paint a bit, but not too much. And you want to make sure you're leaving behind some of the previous layers. You don't want to cover up everything you just did. Good. Now we're getting into what people call the ugly phase. So it's certainly not going to look good at the moment, but as I keep going and keep doing a couple layers, it'll come back a little bit better. And then as we keep going from there, it'll look a little bit better. So you got to trust the process on this one. You can't just say, oh, it looks awful, and then not go forward. Change your mind totally. You got to trust it, and you got to keep going. Okay, as I'm getting to my second coat, I realized that I want to actually show you guys what I'm doing, because I'm doing a bit of wet blending as I go. So right now I've got that 50-50 of the medium rust with the pink flesh, and I'm just kind of blending that in with my second coat as I go, and basically working quickly. I put a little bit of it down and then I switch to the other color real quick, and while they're both still wet, kind of blend them together. This wet blending is going to be what helps us get from that stark contrast and making it look kind of decent. Okay, so here she is looking pretty good. And to give you an idea of what that entailed, I have been painting for a little over an hour now just to get to this point. As you can see, it really is an involved process. And then the next step we're going to do is going to be highlighting. And for this, we're going to take our last shade, the pink flesh with the radiant flesh, and we're going to add just a little bit of ivory to it. And then we're going to go ahead and put the highlights on. And the one thing I do want to let you know is if you are trying this out, when you do it on a smaller figure, it is certainly not going to take as long. This is a large figure with lots of skin, which makes it excellent for videos for you to see really well what I'm doing. Unfortunately, that also means it is a large figure and takes a lot more work because you can see all the details. And as you can see, as I'm going through and doing the highlighting, I am going to have to wet blend all this in. Once again, you may not need to do that with your own if you're doing a smaller figure. Okay, so here we are with the highlights done and nicely blended as much as needed. Now we are doing pink flesh mixed with violet red. This is going to be where we reinforce some colors into our shadows. So we're actually just doing a glaze. Now a glaze is very, very thin. So when we actually, when I make a glaze, I actually keep a little test piece over here that I can test it on. And you can see how I'm not actually covering. That's actually probably a little too thick still. The idea is that I'm not actually covering the color underneath, but I'm just kind of tinting it a little bit. So that's what I want to do. And I'm going to take that into the recesses. So all my shadow areas. And that way we're adding a little bit more color, a little more interest. And a little bit more of what skin actually looks like, because skin has multiple tones in there. Glazing, nice and quick. And the next step is more glazing. This time we're going to use burnt red. Now, the original recipe from Jose called for wine red, which I don't have, but this is going to add some color for us, some more color. It's really nice to do to represent the blood that would normally show up under our skin. You know, you're going to have that more with the cheeks. So we want to kind of go in that area, the bridge of the nose. And again, down this cheek. And with glazing, you want to go from highlight to shadow. So you don't actually want to deposit too much color in the highlights. You want to take it more into the shadows. And that just gives us a little more richness in the color. And we don't actually have to stop there. Once this dries, I can actually add some more if I want to add some additional color. So that glazing is done as well. And as you can see, we've got some nice rich color in her. She doesn't look so pale anymore. And the final step, we're going to glaze for our highlights a little bit of laser yellow. And when I say a little bit, I mean a little bit. We want this to be very weak and just a tiny little hint of this yellow, because it will be powerful. And we don't want everything to be quite so yellow. You can see I'm getting a little bit too much yellow there. That's okay. Even if I do get a little too much yellow on the highlights, I can just go back over it with my regular highlight color. But your skin actually has a lot of yellows and blues in it. So that's why we put the violet, because blue and red. And then the yellow is a lot of reflection from the sun. She's looking real nice now with the skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of her so you guys get a beautiful thumbnail. And if you have any questions on this, or if there's anything else you'd like to see, let me know. If you enjoyed this, if it was helpful, let me know in the comments. Give me a like. You know, it would be great if you subscribe, ring the bell to get the future videos. You know the whole deal. And if you'd love to join our wonderful community, we talk a lot of D&D and a lot of tips and miniature painting and techniques. It's a very helpful and fun community, very focused on positivity. Then our Patreon is below, as well as you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And until next time, have fun and keep creating.